welcome back to A Better World. This is your host, Mitchell J. Rabin, and I'm very glad that you're joining us again today. I will be interviewing Cal Garrison, the author of the book, The Astrology of 2012 and Beyond. And I'm retaping the introduction because when we shot the original one at her place in Sedona on location, in my exuberance, I taped a second show with Cal, and we mistakenly went over the introduction to the first show. So it stood to reason that I would redo this and give her her proper introduction. Cal Garrison has been an astrologer for a number of decades. She is a Virgo. She's very studious as a result and perfectionistic in her work, in her writing, and in her readings. She has been working with Drunvalo Melchizedek for the past number of years as his astrologer, and she has been the recipient of much information, that some of which is conveyed in these next two interviews. So I hope you enjoy them. I hope you get a lot out of them. They are particularly timely because they deal very much with what are referred to commonly as the end times, the end of the Mayan calendar, the times spoken of in different biblical prophecy, and here we are. So I hope you enjoy it.
When I was younger, I started getting into the whole concept of the great shift of the ages, like when I was a kid, and from that perspective, it was just nothing but a total earthquake, volcanic kind of Holocaust
Explosion,
kind of thing.
yeah.
And there was no explanation for it.
Apocalyptic, basically.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I never really started to think about the mechanics of it until, ever since we've been sort of getting down to the wire. I said, okay, well, if this is going to happen, how does it work?
What's it going to look like?
Yeah.
Right.
Every 26,000 years, and in between, every 13,000 years, there is a pole shift. It's not a fantasy. It's not a product of some kind of fundamentalist doctrine. It isn't something that the New Age screwballs have made up. It is part of a cycle that has been
Because that's a fear
on.
many have,
Oh, no.
The latter.
Well, there's a lot of skepticism and cynicism about it, among a lot of people. I think it's just ignorance that keeps us from understanding that it's part of a 26,000 year cycle that is due to go off pretty much any time now, and that's, we happen to be here at this time now because it's our turn to go through this experience. This is part of Mother Earth's evolutionary cycle. We also need to understand that she is completely equipped to go through something like this. Okay,
Yeah.
so it is a natural phenomenon, and if we understand exactly what is going on, I think it becomes easier to embrace the idea that we are going to go through a pole shift.
Yes.
All right,
yes.
and this is the big thing.
That's the basis of it, that there is a pole shift.
Yeah.
The magnetic poles of the Earth go.
Yes. Well, whenever there's a pole shift, there's a number of different ways that it can go. But no matter how the physical poles make their shift, it's always true that the magnetic poles will shift before the physical poles shift. All right, because that has to do with, in this particular situation that we're in now, it has to do with the fact that the magnetic field is collapsing, and in order for us to sort of, or for the Earth to slip from one dimension to another, that has to happen first because it's the magnetic field that holds us in the space-time continuum.
Yes.
All right. So we're going into
That's a very important point that might be slightly new or elusive to many. So what you're saying is that the Earth as this physical reality, as people know it, will slip into an etheric style reality is a very unusual notion.
Yes, because we've been entrained in a particular way.
Yes, exactly. Where is it documented? I mean, I know it's in the description of the yugas, but for our audience, where could they refer to information about that pole shift and its timing?
all the information on the pole shift you can find in Immanuel Velikovsky's books, Worlds in Collision and Ages in Chaos. I mean, that was like the seminal piece of information about all of that stuff, although he wasn't the first to come up with it. But, to me, the most comprehensive book on, if you want to know about pole shifts, is John White's book, Pole Shift.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah, totally covers it all in a very clear and concise way. And there's all kinds of material about it if you just go looking for it.
I mean, this is scientifically verifiable. This is not just something that is in the realm of metaphysics.
No.
This is what the earth passes through as essentially a living body.
And this is why the indigenous people are so sort of in tune with things, because of the way that they have recorded their memories and stuff. They do everything through oral tradition, and they have a very different way of holding their memories together than we do. I mean, they have actually passed down the information of exactly what happened during the last pole shift from one generation of elders to another. So their interest in this stuff and their part in helping us right now is really important. If you think about these huge mechanisms, all of them coming full circle simultaneously, along with every single cell in every single thing, in every single aspect of this reality, all coming full circle at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot pinpoint that.
Look, the Mexicans are going to be a little late.
The Mexicans.
Well, the Mediterranean are going to be there, when they get there.
Exactly. And I think that we've got to just consider this, that
it's only the Germans and the Swiss that are going to be there on time.
I wonder, I wonder if this thing operates like a German train.
Robert Anton Wilson, in his great book, The Cosmic Trigger, are you familiar?
No, I've never read it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah.
He does go into this rather elaborate time scheme where the 26,000-year cycle, along with several others, all come to a crescendo and a moment at what he says is December 21st, I believe, 2012, at like 11:59, p.m., like a incredibly well orchestrated moment.
Well, it's kind of cool
I'm not saying
to
I
think of it that way.
know of that
I
to be
think
true,
we all,
but it's interesting.
We're also linear, we need but you can't. I mean, these cycles obviously are, it's only here on Earth that we're slave to the law of time.
Yes.
All right, so...
Yes, a very important point.
Yeah. So we're judging this based on our perception of time.
Exactly.
This is something that's happening from multiple perspectives.
And it's happening also in phases. It's not like a sudden cataclysm. I mean, that's what my sense is, but I'd love to hear what you have to say. But it's something that is gradually occurring, sort of like the dawning of the age of Aquarius has been happening at least since Hair was on Broadway. Yeah. And we are moving toward it. Some say it's still many hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of years before it actually dawns. But like yin and yang become the other over time, if you will. It's not like that.
Yeah.
It's a slow and gradual
understand what you're saying.
phasing.
I feel that way at the energetic level in terms of what I see going on in the world around me and people changing and shifting their attitude and their perspective and their consciousness. But I think the actual physical shifting of the poles is going to be a cataclysmic thing. And it's going to be something that is, preceded by a 6-hour window where we begin to notice, as the electromagnetic field finally goes down to zero, that a lot of things start disintegrating. And
such as, what do you think will disintegrate?
Anything that's anything that is not intrinsic to the earth is going to dissolve.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Like plastic?
It's kind of anything plastic, metal, everything is going to be reduced to its base elements. Okay, but
of course, everything really does derive from the base elements. You can't have something that's made from something other than base elements unless they come from an extraterrestrial source.
Well, that's interesting. I never thought of that. The way it was told to me was that basically only what is intrinsic to the earth is going to live through this. And that's part of the reason the pyramids are still here. You see, they've been through this experience.
Yes.
All right?
Right.
And, because
Living testimony.
Yeah, they've been through this experience. So, flesh and blood, anything made of rock, crystals, things like that, perhaps all the things that grow. But your houses and your automobiles and none of your electronic stuff is going to work for you. And even the people that are hooked on like little consciousness devices,
right,
that are supposed to help them with things like this are probably going to watch them disappear into thin air too.
You're right.
And I think it's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then there is a point where, there's a huge amount of upheaval at that time because there's so much ferrous material in the earth. Everything is magnetic.
Yeah.
The lava flows. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so what happens to those lava flows when the electromagnetic field goes down?
Exactly.
All hell breaks loose, I think, on the elemental level.
It's so interesting.
And
so then what then comes after that, Cal? What is it that we're looking at? What kind of earth are we going to have?
Well, the way that I understand it is that we're slipping into another realm entirely, one that has no relationship to what we see here. And it sounds almost like something out of a Disney movie when you hear it described, not just, by the elders and by the people and the stories who talk about these, the crystal and gold, and it's basically the New Jerusalem or whatever it is that we've been envisioning.
Yes.
All right, and from a biblical perspective,
Golden Age, Age of Peace.
Yeah, we're restoring the kingdom to Israel. That's basically what's going on right now. If you want to see it from that perspective, we're entering into 2,000 years of peace and harmony. It's a natural part of things, and the reason we don't know about this is because we've been circling through 13,000 years of darkness, and all of the information that's come down to us has been disseminated in ignorance. Yes. And we're just beginning to wake up.
And interpreted in ignorance.
Yeah. And so all of these things are forcing all of us to totally change our perspective on who we are in this world. And you were talking earlier about you and me being here doing our work. I mean, I don't know what you're doing. I'm just doing the only thing I can do. And I think that
Me too.
I think that people are all sort of in the process of waking up to the fact that that's all they came here to do too. And some of the things that they've gotten hooked into are not working for them anymore.
Right. Exactly. It's like there's an emergence of the soul, a higher level of intelligence that's kicking in and kicking out, actually, and is just yearning for expression.
Yeah.
That's what I see going on.
Yeah, no, it's true.
People are finally unsettled, by, and if not traumatized, by the life that they've been living.
Yeah.
It's just not nourishing anymore.
And they're in shell shock now, too, because of all the external changes.
Yeah, exactly. The banking system falling apart, insurance industry, everything is just unraveling.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
And I'm rather happy. I watch it and I say, thank God. Why has it taken so long? I know. It's not that I would have wanted to necessarily go this way. I'm a man of peace. I prefer a little here, a little there. Let's go slow. But it doesn't go that way. Nature is somewhat cataclysmic, as you're saying.
Yeah, no. There's that 6-hour window that opens up. And at that time, it's going to be very disturbing because not only are you going to watch elements of your reality disappear, but people who don't understand what's going on are going to go into a panic. Because as the magnetic field dissolves, your memories dissolve too, because they are directly hooked up to the magnetic field of the planet.
Absolutely.
And people go crazy.
Very important point. Yeah. Exactly. Each cell has its own magnetic core.
Yeah.
It has a magnetic resonance with the larger field.
Yeah.
And you're right, that is related to our memory store.
Yeah. So,
That's why iron is part of videotape.
yes, exactly. And it's interesting too because metaphorically, I think what the earth is going through during this process is similar to what happens when you erase the magnetics on a DVD.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So everything
On
goes
magnetic
down.
tape.
Yeah.
Right.
Now,
Exactly.
Now that period of time, the thing that the Native American people and the Mayans and the other indigenous people say, their instructions at the onset of a pole shift are just to go into the pueblo, close your curtains, and pray. Because nothing you do is going to change this. And the best thing to do at that time is just to really get centered. There's nothing, you don't need to worry about stocking your little place with water or food, because I don't think your physical needs are going to be the same
challenged.
during this
Oh,
process.
yes.
I don't think they're going to be the
Right,
same.
right.
That's a theory of mine. Because I think that,
It's just 6 hours.
yeah. Well, those 6 hours, but then you go through 3 days of darkness. Everything shifts. Yes, everything starts to dissolve. Then there's this process of red fog and different things changing. And then all of a sudden, boom, it goes totally black. And you go through approximately 3 days of darkness, which is, from what I've been told, basically like being in a sensory deprivation chamber for about 3 days. And the only thing you can
Delightful.
do during that time is nothing. And you go and you, for whatever seems like forever, and then all of a sudden the light comes back on and you're in a completely different world. And from the sound of it, everything looks like it's absolutely beautiful. And the laws that are functional in that reality are completely different than they are here. Because whatever you think about, you manifest. And this is why it's important for us now to get sort of tuned in. All this hype about let's figure out how to manifest is to prepare us for where we're going. Because it would be good for us if we understood what was going on when we get there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the veil, the buffer of gravity, etc.,
Yeah.
that stands between, and our own mental blockages between the wish, the desire, and the manifestation will be removed.
That's right. And everybody says, well, what do you do? Is there a safe place to be? There isn't really a safe place to be. The safest place to be is here, in your heart. And this is a big stretch for people because we're so geared to thinking, a lot of people are getting ready for this and they're going off with their guns and they're burying food and all that kind of stuff. Right. It's not going to make a difference.
Right.
It's like where you are inside and whether you're tuned to the frequency that Mother Earth is moving to.
Yes.
And if you're on that frequency, you'll slip right through. And the ones that don't, we're all going to get through this one way or another.
Right.
All right.
Exactly.
And if you're concerned about your loved ones, you can't really worry too much about them. But I finally figured out after thinking about it for a long time that what'll happen when you get to the other side is as soon as you think of your loved ones, they're going to be there.
Exactly.
Because so you don't really have to worry about too much of that.
Right. Right.
Now,
is this what you're saying specifically according to which particular prophetic tradition?
Well, it's...
I know there's a confluence between them.
Yeah, mainly coming out of the Mayan stuff. A lot of the things that Drunvalo Melchizedek has spoken about in his workshops. Of all the people that I've connected with on this stuff, the only one who really seems to be talking about what can we actually do to get through it is him. Nobody else seems to know, but I don't know what it is about this guy. It's either his connection with his star brothers, or it's his connection with his lineage, or his connection with the indigenous people in his past that helps him know this stuff. But he has very, very clear information about what's going on with that. And he's the only one that's sticking his neck out and saying it. So.
Isn't that interesting? Don Alejandro, how about him? I mean,
well, they don't go into it, they're not as like
outspoken,
certainty oriented as we are.
Oh, okay.
In my
Concrete?
understanding. Well, I think that, the civilized world has a fear-based mindset and has a lot of huge certainty and security issues. When you hear Don Alejandro or the Kogi or any of those people, or even the Hopi and some of the Native American people here in America, talk about that stuff, they're very much sort of in a flow that isn't necessarily geared towards having to tell you, how to do A, B, and C, or what the little end times boot camp should be. Mm-hmm. They're much more, how can I say it, receptive or open to whatever God's will is, seems to me.
I see.
And what they do say about...
without needing sort of a recipe or an instruction manual.
Well, I think they're going to come out with more information. But they've been very measured in the way they've disseminated the stuff that they've said so far.
I see. And Drunvalo's taking what they have spoken and what he knows himself and is laying it out for the Western, the American, to grapple with in our way.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's a different way.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've heard, they talk about the beautiful new earth and the way that the fifth world is, how it's one of the most beautiful worlds in creation. But they're not the least bit concerned about whether they're going to go or not, because their beliefs allow them to just have it be okay no matter what happens.
Yes.
And I have a
feeling...
feeling...
That is so key, Cal.
Yeah.
That is such a key point, that their belief system is so open that they are embracing all that happens moment by moment.
Yeah, they live completely differently than we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if
you were telling me the other day about what it was like to be with the Kogi, that you have no idea what they're experiencing at the same moment that you're standing there with them.
Yeah. It's very hard to try to grasp how they might be seeing you, and it's interesting because for me, I really got a clear sense, and I told you this, that it was so evident to me that it could take me 100 lifetimes to ever get back to that point of purity.
Yes.
Never seen anything like it.
Yeah. It's extraordinary.
Yeah.
It really is.
And they know more about the planet than the physicists.
Right.
They don't even have books. That, we're all so messed up and screwed up, and these people seem to know exactly what's going on. It's amazing to me.
Truly in harmony. Their book is the earth, and the heavens.
And it's so weird. And this is another thing that I think it's like so weird. But even for me, I remember being a kid and reading Life magazine and seeing pictures of people from different countries and thinking they were uncivilized. And to reverse your perspective.
Right, just right.
These are the people that are going to help us.
Yes.
They're the ones that know.
When Clinton got elected president, I didn't feel like he was really one of us completely. I did not vote for him, but I felt that he was more one of us. At least he played saxophone and tried pot,
Yeah.
But I did write to him at the beginning, and in fact, I aired my letter at the very beginning of doing all of this. And I asked him to please make contact with the indigenous people of America and apologize from his heart for all of us and beg their forgiveness. And if they were willing to give it and show some mercy, to ask if they would form a council of elders that would be on a cabinet level with all the others and advise the president and the Congress about what needs to take place to be in harmony with Earth.
Isn't it really interesting that you should say that? Because there was a thing, I don't know who said it, there's a bunch of elders and people that speak about those things from the Native American people, but they said that one of the elders said that people at the United Nations are wondering when we're going to join them, and actually we're wondering when they're going to join us.
Yeah.
You know, it's that kind of thing.
I was there in the fall of
And it was
1993
around that time.
at the UN.
There
I
was a
part
big
of
thing
that.
going on then.
Oh, yeah.
That's when they went and they
I know.
delivered their speech.
I was there.
Holy wow.
A good friend of mine organized it. She was involved with the Hopi and Orville Looking Horse and Jake Swamp and, you know, indigenous elders who I also know were there.
See, I
and
never
they
got-
did their thing at the House of Micah, as the prophecy spoke
Micah.
of. I just want to thank you and invite you back to
Sure, I'd be happy
do another show.
to visit again.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Then stay tuned.
Yeah.
This is Mitchell J. Rabin for a Better World, live from Sedona. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I do, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.